Hello there and welcome to our Bible study for today. We are continuing our study in the book of 3 John. So let's go to our Bible verses for today and read 3 John verses 9 through 11. I wrote unto the church, but Diotrephes, who loveth to have the preeminence among them, receiveth us not. Wherefore, if I come, I will remember his deeds which he doeth, prating against us with malicious words, and not content therewith, neither doth he himself receive the brethren, and forbiddeth them that would, and casteth them out of the church. Beloved, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil hath not seen God. In our first study, we looked at a fellow called Gaius. And Gaius was a good man, and he was commended by the writer of the epistle, John, for some things that he did that were very wonderful. He was a good example to us today. But today I want us to look at a fellow who was a bad example, and his name was Diotrephes, and we read about him in our Bible reading just then. What was Diotrephes noted for? He was noted for at least two things that were bad. The first thing was this: he was proud. He was proud. He was a proud man. What is pride? What is pride? Pride is the me first attitude. Diotrephes wanted to be number one, numero uno. He wanted to be the head honcho. He wanted to be the big cheese. It was, you know what pride is? Pride is me first. Me first. And this was Diotrephes. Look at the verse again in 3 John verse 9. Diotrephes, who loveth to have the preeminence among them. He wanted to be first. He wanted to be number one. Where did pride come from? Where did it start? Let me read to you from the book of Isaiah. And this is what it says. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Where did pride start with? It started with Satan himself, with Lucifer. Where did pride and man, us, where did it come from? Well, we have to go back to the Garden of Eden. Genesis chapter 3. Satan talking to Adam and Eve, he said, For God doth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Even in the Garden of Eden, that beautiful place, Satan appealed to pride. Do you know every single person on planet Earth has been infected with this thing called pride? Not with the coronavirus. Now that's bad, but it's not nearly as bad as pride. Pride is a thing that is far, far worse than any virus. You say, how are we infected with pride? Remember, what is pride? Pride is me first. Me first. Here's a little toddler sitting in the high chair. And that little baby gets that Weet-Bix and tips it out. She doesn't want her Weet-Bix. She doesn't want to eat it, so she gets rid of it. What is that? That is pride. That's saying, me first. Me first. Or here's a little 2-year-old or a 3-year-old down at the supermarket, and they throw a temper tantrum. And they scream and they shout and they yell and they kick their legs because they want something they're not supposed to have. What is that? That is pride. That is pride. That is like Diotrephes wanting to have the preeminence. Pride is me first. What is pride? Pride is a teenager that says, I don't want anything to do with my parents anymore. I don't want anything to do with my church. I don't like anyone. I want to go my own way. A bit like the prodigal son. What is it? Me first. Pride. Pride is me first. Even adults, what we do, we say, I don't want anything to do with God. I'll serve my own purposes. I'll look after number one. Me first. That is pride. And Diotrephes, he was noted for his pride. You know, the destruction caused by pride is far worse than any earthquake, any virus, any nuclear bomb. It is the most terrible thing. You look at all that's happening in the world today, you can all trace it back to pride. Now, how do we counteract pride? How do we stop pride from ruling our lives? How do we get rid of that me first attitude? Well, the Bible says it here, James 4 and verse 10. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. We need to practice humbling ourselves. If we humble ourselves, God doesn't have to humble us. You see, there's a difference. There's a vast difference to humbling yourself or being humbled. You better to humble yourself and knock that pride out, because when God does it, it's usually not very pleasant. God hates pride. He hates pride. And it all started with Satan. Well, this fellow Diotrephes was a proud man. He wanted to have the preeminence. But that wasn't all. There's another word that starts with P. He was a proud man. He was a prating man. Verse number 10 again, it says, Wherefore, if I come, I will remember his deeds which he doeth, prating against us with malicious words. Now, you've heard of you ever heard of the word prattle? Someone prattles on. Someone prattles on, that means to be a prater. It's an old English word, and this is what the word means. It means to talk foolishly or to talk at tedious length. To talk foolishly or at tedious length. In other words, this man, Diotrephes, he prattled, he talked on and on and on, foolishly. Have you ever heard that saying? He talked for the sake of talking. Are you like that? Some people don't talk very much, but other people, they talk and they talk and they talk just for the sake of talking. They are prattling on. Now, the Bible says here that Diotrephes prattled on with malicious words or harmful words, spiteful words, words that were intended to cause harm. He was a proud man, and his weapon of choice was words. There's an old saying, and I used to say this when I was a little kid, but this was the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I remember saying that many times and hearing that many times in my childhood, but of course nothing could be further from the truth. Words can do as much or more damage than any physical damage, any physical instrument. Words can destroy. So here's some advice, so as we do not become like Diotrephes. Take these, if you're writing notes, take these down. Here's the first point. Don't talk about others behind their backs. I'm sure you've heard that said, but don't talk about others behind their backs. If you've got something to say to someone, go and say it to their face. Don't talk about people. And then secondly, don't believe what you hear about people. Don't believe it. Don't believe what others say about people, because usually it's not right. My father-in-law has always had this saying, believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear, and you'll be close to the truth. Believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear, and you'll be close to the truth. Don't believe what people say about others. There's another old saying that if you want to find out something, you go straight to the horse's mouth. If you need to find out something about someone, go and ask them. Go and talk to them. People say terrible things about others. They use malicious words, and it hurts people. And then thirdly, think before you speak. You know, you can't take words back. If you drive down a one-way street, usually you can put the car in reverse and come back the other way. But there are some things that we do, we can't take it back. And when we say words, we cannot take those words back. Oh, we can apologise sometimes, but it doesn't take the words back. So think before you speak. Well, John finishes his letter, 3 John here, by reminding us of the contrast that he has presented. Good example, bad example. And we read about that in verse 11. He said, "Beloved, follow not that which is evil," that's pride and prating and so on, "but that which is good." That was the example of Gaius. And remember that he was faithful. "He that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil hath not seen God." Let's remember these 2 examples, the good example of Gaius, the bad example of Diotrephes, and take heed of what the Bible says. And we'll see you at the next Bible study.